Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam and you're watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies. And today it's time for the Flicks of the Week, where I give you my top picks from all the major streaming services. So starting this list off with Netflix as usual. I'm really late to the party on this one, but 1922 is a Netflix original movie based on a book by Stephen King, and I am really surprised as to how good this movie is. I've not been overly impressed with a lot of Netflix originals, and wasn't too into the synopsis on this one. Not a huge Stephen King movie fan, although The Shining is like my favorite horror movie, but it's an exception. But this one was really surprising. It's got a good old school vibe, the cinematography's great in it, the story's really kind of chilling, but it's not quite a horror movie, yet it's a great movie to watch during the month of October. Even if you're not into horror movies, it's a great pick, so I highly recommend checking it out if you passed on it just like I had for so long. And then on October 12th, that's this Friday, Apostle comes out, which is the newest Netflix original to drop. And man, does it look good. Man, does it look creepy. I'm super excited for this one because I'm a big fan of the director, who most previously did The Raid and The Raid 2. This one doesn't look to be as heavy on action and fighting like those movies. And it didn't quite look like a horror movie either, but it looks like a great, creepy, grim, gory movie to watch during the month of October. So I will be checking it out immediately and sharing my thoughts with you here on the channel at the end of the week. On Amazon Prime, Legend just got added, which is another great one to watch during the month of October. That is not a horror movie, but Tim Curry plays the devil. Tom Cruise, a very young Tom Cruise, is in it. You've got swamp creatures and goblins and fairies and all manner of stuff. And it's just a really incredible fantasy movie directed by Ridley Scott. This one came out around the same time as Blade Runner. This, in my opinion, is when the time period when Ridley Scott was really at his absolute best. He's never really recaptured the magic that he had at that time, but this movie does capture it. It's a classic. A lot of people love it. If you never really watched it or never really got into it, I would highly recommend going and checking it out while you still can, particularly during the month of October. Another good 80s throwback that just got added to Amazon Prime is RoboCop. Everybody has seen it for the most part, but I love this one. If you're maybe a younger viewer and you really like Deadpool, movies like Deadpool exist because of the success of RoboCop, Predator. There's rated R 80s movies where there's a lot of blood, a lot of violence, just adult material. RoboCop is that movie. Now, there were plenty of others, but RoboCop is the top of the heap, so I recommend watching it for that reason. Avoid the remake. It's just a neutered remake. Everything that made the original great is completely taken out of the PG-13 remake, but you can also watch RoboCop 2, and RoboCop 3 is there, but you could probably just skip it. Speaking of another series on Hulu, the entire Rec series is available. That's Rec 1 through 4. Now, Rec is a Spanish language horror movie series, sort of found footage. At least it starts off. The first one is a found footage movie. I really like this series, and in my opinion, they start off really strong with Rec 1, or it's just called Rec for record, and then the second one's good, the third one's okay, the fourth one's not as good. So I would just start with 1. If you love it, watch 2. If you like it, watch 3. If you're not that into 3, you could probably just skip 4. If you like this type of content, definitely click that subscribe button and be sure to click the little bell icon as well. On HBO, one that is not a October recommendation, but it just got added and a lot of people overlooked it, and it's surprisingly good, Game Night. It's a new release, Jason Bateman. I really like this one. I did not expect to like it that much. It just sort of looked like another kind of run-of-the-mill comedy, silly kind of, thing that doesn't really stick with you. I remember really thinking about this one for days after, not because it was so thought-provoking, but just because it was fun and engaging. It's rated R, again, which means they don't have to hold back on anything. And it's just got some funny, clever moments and sequences that I didn't expect. So it's a very different kind of standout movie in this sort of adult, midnight comedy genre. So if you passed on it thinking it was just another run-of-the-mill thing, It is, but I would say it's like top of the heap in terms of that sort of run-of-the-mill, pleasing the masses sort of comedy. It's like one of the best that I've seen in a while. Now on STARZ, Quarantine is actually listed, and Quarantine is the American remake of Wreck. In my opinion, it is just as good, and the reason it's just as good is because it's almost a frame-by-frame remake. So, if you don't have access to Hulu, but you have access to STARZ, or you don't want to read subtitles, with Wreck, you can watch Quarantine. Now, they did not continue the series, but again, Quarantine is just as good as Wreck, and I do remember being scared by this one in the theater, and that doesn't happen very often for me. One more great one I just need to mention on STARZ is the Wolfman from the 40s, the original. October's a great time to watch that. Yes, it counts as a horror movie. Is it going to scare you? No, it's an old black and white movie. But just for ambiance, this could be a great one to put on one night if you're not really paying attention. But if you give this one some time, I think you'll really enjoy it. I mean, yes, it is old, but it does have... It does have a following. It does have a quality to it that has allowed it to sustain itself for so long. And then on Shudder, they just added Halloween. It's the perfect time to watch it for obvious reasons, but also because the new Halloween, which technically is a sequel to the original, comes out in just a couple of weeks. I'll be reviewing that one. I'll be rewatching the original on Shudder sometime very, very soon, but this one is a classic for so many reasons. It is that good. I love John Carpenter movies, and while this one is not my personal favorite, it really is probably his best horror movie. There is a lot of garbage in the slasher genre, but Halloween really created a lot of the ways those movies work and the way you establish sort of tension and the way that you scare an audience with this format. Halloween is the origin for that, along with other movies. I mean, Halloween did piggyback previous movies, but Halloween was the first one that sort of jumbled a lot of different things together and created the slasher format. So for no other reason, it's well worth watching for that one. I've got kind of a bunk week in terms of rentals, so I'm actually not recommending anything. Instead, I again need you to help me pick which of the 2 movies coming out in theaters to watch. This will not always be the case, but for some reason, we're doubling up on movies I really want to see in October. This week, Bad Times at the El Royale looks really, really interesting. It's got an incredible cast, and it's the first movie directed by the same director as Cabin in the Woods, since Cabin in the Woods. Loved that movie, thought it just did so many clever things. This one looks clever as well, so I'm interested to see it. But First Man with Ryan Gosling also comes out. It's from the director of Whiplash and La La Land. It looks like it's going to be one of the best movies of the year. It looks like a really epic look at the space program and the first moon landing. So it's been a long time since I've seen any of that depicted on screen. Super excited to see that one as well. Which one do you want to see me review? Let me know in the comments below. But I will keep making videos like this one as long as you keep watching them. But thanks for checking this one out, and you will see me on the next one.